how does a schlup like you, or me for that matter, end up living with Eddie Van Halen? How'd that happen?
I was backstage at a concert in Los Angeles, and a guy was introducing me to all these music industry types. And at one point, he said, "Oh man, I'm gonna bring you over to this guy. This guy lives with one of the biggest rock stars on the planet, but don't tell him I told you that." And he introduces me to the guy. The guy knows who I am. So we exchange phone numbers, and we make a plan to go bowling. And he showed up at the bowling alley with Eddie Van Halen. And I come to find out he's Eddie's assistant, and he lives on his property in a guest house. And he's such a fan of the Stern Show that he would get up every morning at 5 a.m. to go into the studios and listen to the show for 4 or 5 hours at a time. And he's telling Ed about me when I started showing up and said, "Oh man, there's this guy who's on the show now who does a perfect Gene Simmons impression." And then a week later, "Oh my God, the same guy does a Sam Kinison impression." And then a week later, "Oh my God, the same guy does a Tracy Morgan impression." And so at the bowling alley, Eddie Van Halen is telling me my life story back to me. One of which was, and this was really surreal, I told a story on the air about how I've been broke my whole life. And all I've ever wanted, if I could have enough money, was to get an illegal cable box. That's all I've ever wanted to own, was one of those illegal cable boxes that unscrambles all the channels. And at the bowling alley, Eddie, who's smoking a cigarette, you're not supposed to be smoking in the bowling alley, he said, "Dude, I heard you've been broke your whole life. Is that true?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Yeah, me too. And I heard that, is this true? You always wanted a legal cable box?" And I said, "Yeah, that's crazy." Because, and he looked both ways and he went, "I got a legal cable box too." And I said, "What? Are you serious?" And he goes, "The thing is, I'm rich, but don't want to pay for cable." And I was like, "Serious?" It was one of the most surreal experiences. And then over the course of the next year and a half, I started hanging out at the studio with his assistant, and then occasionally Eddie would show up. And then I got in a bad relationship that ended in a really terrible way one night. And Eddie said, "Dude, pack up your stuff, move in with me." And I said, "Is that okay?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude, you can live in the recording studio. Stay as long as you want. The only thing is, don't tell anybody, but the band's getting back together, so it's going to be noisy at night." And I went, "So the only thing I have to worry about is the fact that Van Halen is going to be playing in the next room?" And he said, "I know you're working on your TV show." So I packed my stuff up and I moved in the recording studio and continued to live my life while living in the shadows of a guy who was super famous. I remember one night taking his assistant to a Metallica concert, meeting a girl who we started texting each other throughout the night. And at midnight, she said, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And I said, "Sure." And she called me and she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm in the Hollywood Hills." And she said, "You want me to come over?" And I said, "Sure." And you know what? Let me find out if that's okay. I'll call you back. She said, "Oh, you have a girlfriend?" And I said, "No, I do not have a girlfriend. I'm very much single. I'm in a really unique situation. So let me call you back." So I hung up. I got a hold of Ed and I said, "Ed, I don't know if you heard, but I met a girl tonight. She wants to come over. Is it okay if I keep her at the studio? Is it okay to have a girl?" And he said, "Dude, get some tail." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So he didn't say tail, by the way. So I to meet me at the bottom of the hill. There's a Ralph's supermarket right there on Coldwater Canyon in Ventura. And I had her leave her car there. I still don't know how to tell her my circumstances. She's peppering me with questions about, why do you have to get permission to have someone over? And I said, it's a really unique situation. So I pull up to the back end of there's two gates to get in. The back gate is the one next to the studio. So I pull up through the back gate. I park at the studio. I open the door and I let her in first. And she walks in and goes, Wow. Is your friend like the biggest Van Halen fan on the planet, or what?